Hello, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're going to be doing another light novel review. Today we're going to be looking at Solo Leveling number 5, which was an awesome book, an awesome volume in this series. It was really, really good. I definitely recommend you guys pick up Solo Leveling, and I definitely recommend you guys get to this volume as soon as possible because, man, it was super, super good. So, yeah, this is by Chugong. This is the light novel, so it doesn't have any pictures at all. The first volume does come with a picture initially, but none of these other volumes come with any, although, honestly, I think looking back on it, Yen Press, which publishes both the manhwa and the light novel, should have curated some of the images from the manhwa and just stuck them in here where they fit, and it would have been a really nice kind of vibe. Although I'm sure some people would have complained about the fact that it's not the original Korean experience, but honestly, if you're paying premium for it, I would prefer that they kind of boost it up a little bit by having some extra color pages that don't come in the original, instead of, just leaving it as is. But that's kind of a neither here nor there kind of complaint. It's not really even a complaint. It's kind of just an idea that I thought of off the top of my head just now, and I think it would have been really, really cool. But it is what it is. It's published by Yenon, which is Yen Press, but they're light novel imprint, which is cool. The demographic here is 16 plus. I have said before that I think this is honestly an adult title since the main character is 21 or 24. I don't remember. He's like a proper adult, or like he's not a teenager anymore. He's not necessarily a proper like 30-year-old though. But it is definitely in the kind of like YA and up kind of vibe. So feel free to read this if you're a YA reader, and I think you'll probably enjoy this. Honestly, this is one of those books that even if you're not a light noveler or otaku or weeb, you'll probably enjoy because it's cool. I mean, it might be difficult to get used to some of the names, but generally speaking, it's really good. I kind of wish it wasn't 15 bucks. If they would have made it a mass market paperback, sold it to general audiences outside of the weeb community, I think it would have worked really, really well, but it is what it is. And the genres here are action, fantasy, and lit RPG, or progression fantasy, or game lit, whatever you want to call it. Basically, there's video game elements that only apply to the main character, which is why it's called Solo Leveling, because only he can level up. And it's very, very good. I don't necessarily think it is a front runner or an originator of this lit RPG kind of style, but it's definitely like the most popular out of Korea as far as I understand it, which is really, really cool. So yeah, adaptations wise, it does have a manhwa, and there's an anime coming sometime this year. However, I don't think I'll watch that anime because the anime is being made by Japan, and if you guys don't know, Japan is actually a very negative member of the story. They're actually antagonistic because this is from Koreans, so there's this kind of like societal, cultural, kind of racial divide between them, and so that's kind of reflected in these books. And if I remember correctly, it seems like the anime is going to adapt things so that Japan isn't the bad guy. And so if they're going to do changes like that, I'm not sure that the story can work that well. And so I don't think I'm going to watch the anime. I'm going to stick to the two original sources coming out of Korea. So it is what it is. Just be aware of that if you do end up watching the anime. And ratings-wise, because it's just so good that I want to talk about it right now, it's a 5 out of 5. It's the best book in the series so far, and it was a really great read. I really enjoyed it a lot. So, yeah, the premise of this part of the story is that Jinwoo has finally managed to get around to creating his guild, which is kind of the major arc that was happening in the first 4 volumes. And he's kind of starting that, but the gates around the world are actually starting to act very suspiciously. They're doing things that they didn't do before. They're growing in sizes that are not common, and there's also a lot more S-gates than usual. And monsters are also acting different. In fact, the story actually opens with some orcs coming into the world and doing something that they wouldn't have done before. So, yeah. And so these differences cause Jinwoo to be distracted, to be sidetracked because he has to go do some other stuff, but also lead to this international disaster, which focuses around Japan. And a lot of revelations are given about the nature of why Jinwoo is the way he is and why he can level up and, kind of what's happening there. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see all of this work. And I'm curious to see how it kind of affects later on, how it affects some of the other characters that we've been introduced to that are clearly like major antagonistic or kind of like maybe not completely good groups, right? So I'm very curious to see how that all kind of pans out. So yeah, the plot line here is pretty simple generally. I mean, it is not that serious of a story. Like, okay, it is a serious story, but it's not a very complex epic fantasy type story. It's more of a just like I don't know how to describe it. Well, it's a lit RPG. It's kind of a little bit more linear than that. So yeah, Jinwoo starts joining the Knights Guild on a gate excursion where they're going, and then while they're in there, something goes wrong. He can feel it through his shadows that like track other people, and he has to leave. So he's like, you guys, I need to go. I'm gonna leave some of my monsters here, and you guys can, do whatever you need to do. I need to go check up on my sister because something is going on at that school, right? So he rushes off to try to protect her. It turns out that there was an issue there. The orcs ended up attacking the school, and well, a lot of stuff happens. Of course, there's 8 more volumes to go, so Jinwoo succeeds in doing what he has to do, and then he deals with the issue, and finally Jinwoo manages to establish his guild, the Ajin Guild. I don't remember what Ajin means. I think it means like a demon or something in Korean. Or in Japanese, I don't remember like the etymology of the word, but it kind of sounds like jinn, as in like the Arabic monsters. So it's kind of interesting, and I think it kind of does correlate to them. But he sets it up with the help of Jinho's cousin, or Jinho's cousin. I don't know how to say his name, and eventually he goes back to his like casual training that he used to do, where he would just like take out gates by himself. He's doing this because he needs to wait for a key that he has to reach its use condition. Along the way, there's also a lot of hunter politics happening, where Jinwoo is trying to kind of jockey for privileges based on the fact that he is an important person, and most of these privileges are mostly just so that he can continue to level up and do what he needs to do. And President Go of the Hunters Association is like, yeah, we got to do whatever this guy needs, because otherwise we're going to lose a very important member to our society, to our country, and we really need him here if things are going to get as bad as they seem to be going internationally, right? So they do whatever he wants, and he doesn't really take advantage of it all that often, just kind of a little bit, just where it's necessary to do so. And eventually, the key reaches its use condition, so he had to wait like 200 days or something. And he eventually does. And now he's back at the original double dungeon where he initially got his powers, right? So he's kind of having this like situation where like, oh, what the fuck, why am I here? And basically he ends up having a huge battle that leads to a huge revelation, which leads to a huge buff in his power level. And eventually the Hunters Guild, run by Jingso and Heincha, come to help, but actually they end up suffering huge losses because Jinwoo didn't really need help, but he doesn't really tell them that. He's like, okay, he's actually moved by the fact that they ended up trying to save him. And then he kind of deals with that situation, and they deal with the gate. And then while this is happening, Japan is in shambles because there was a giant gate that opened up above them over Tokyo, and kind of has this kind of like kaiju movie vibe to it, where it's just like Shin Godzilla levels of like, fuck, what do we do? And then the country gets destroyed by these giants coming out of these gates, and because of what Japan had done in the previous volumes, no one wants to help them, and so it's really bad, and it's really interesting to see how that's going to develop later on. And yeah, honestly, there's also some other secondary kind of plot lines here and there, but I don't think they're necessarily all that important yet, so I won't really mention them. But overall, really, really good stuff. This was a great novel. Characters-wise, we mostly have a focus on Jinwoo. We get Jinho's development a little bit, and his dad as well. His dad gets a little bit of development because we learned previously that he has the eternal sleep disease, so he kind of wants to figure out what the hell's going on and see if someone can help him get a cure for it. Then we get a little bit more development of Jinchul, which is the supervisor head. So like the Hunters Association has like hunters, and then it has supervisors, which are hunter level people that are basically there to control and make sure that things don't go wrong. So he's a kind of supervisor. or surveyor. I don't remember the name of their association, but like we get a little bit of development with him, a little bit more of President President Go, and a little bit more of Hien Cha, but not really much. I do know that she eventually does end up getting with Jinwoo at some point, because that's kind of just how it goes. I mean, the way that she's described and kind of becomes part of the story is very clear that it's going to happen, but it hasn't really happened yet, and I'm curious to see when it does, because, well, we're almost halfway through the series, right? So, yeah. But overall, those are the most important characters that we see. Mostly, it's just Jinwoo, though. World building wise, there's a huge amount of stuff that's revealed, but I can't really reveal any of it because it's huge spoilers, so I'm not really going to talk about it. But just know that it's really, really good. Just because of the world building, I give this book a 5 out of 5. But beyond that, the action and the plotting and the kind of way that the storyline developed was also really, really good. So, overall, my enjoyment was really, really high. So, yeah, lots of spoilers, but it was very, very good. And it does actually evolve from just a generic, okay, I got, video game superpowers, into kind of a bit more of a serious, epic fantasy type story. And it was really, really great. I liked that a lot. So yeah, ratings wise, it's a 5 out of 5. It was super good. I really enjoyed it. I read it in 2 days. Honestly, I read it, I think, in 4 hours. Because one day I couldn't sleep, so I was like, okay, I'll just start reading. And then it made my problem worse because I started reading and I didn't want to stop reading. So I read half of it in 2 hours. And then I came back the next day after kind of a long day, and I finished it, and it was really, really great. It was a wonderful story. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, really good stuff all around. It was very, very enjoyable. If you guys have not read Solo Leveling yet, definitely give it a go, because it's really, really good. So yeah, that's all there is to say about Solo Leveling Volume 5. It was so good that I wanted to immediately start reading the next one that I have right there, but I decided to wait because I have other more important things to read for other purposes. So there you go. That's really all there is to say for sure now. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.